Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Montcast. It was kind of a slow week in video game news, but there are some significant stories in esports, so let's get to it. Alright, for what's popular, there's really only one game worth mentioning. God of War. It's popular. Like more popular than you're thinking. Like more popular than that. Over 1 million copies a day. For a console exclusive like this, it's exclusive to PlayStation. Those numbers are unheard of. And it's just smashing all the records. Other than that, people are playing the same games that they always play. But a lot of people are playing God of War instead right now. Your new game this week is Battle for Wesnoth. It's an open source turn-based strategy with a high fantasy theme. There's like 17 solo campaigns and dozens of multiplayer maps. So, regardless of which avenue you prefer to play, it doesn't seem like you are going to run out of things to do anytime soon. I'll leave the Steam link there in the episode description for ya. Alright, on to what's gonna likely be a relatively quick video game news segment. Alright, so I already covered God of War smashing the sales records, but it's worth saying twice because it's such a big deal. Also, the news broke via a job posting from Blizzard Entertainment that Blizzard is working on a PvP shooter. It's technically unannounced, but they have a PvP shooter and they're working on it. Fingers crossed that this is not another battle royale. I think that it would probably be wildly successful from a financial standpoint if Blizzard entered the battle royale scene. But as you know, I feel like a broken record saying this just about every episode. I'm not a big battle royale fan and I don't want to see this. I always look forward to the next Blizzard game, because I love a lot of what Blizzard has done, but I'd just rather them not get into Battle Royale. The PlayStation Store and other major players in the video game distribution, segment of the world, they have been accused of violating some serious EU laws. You can check the link on the Twitch Club Twitter. There's I specifically shared this on the Twitch Club Twitter for the details, but essentially there's some EU laws that govern like buybacks, and after the point of purchase you should be able to return said item or something. And basically a lot of the major distributors are not in accordance with that law, or were not at the time they were accused. Or maybe they were and they're just being falsely accused. That's the thing with news, is you don't always get the whole story right off the bat. So that's a thing. The latest League of Legends patch focuses on jungle playstyles and changing them up. This is not the first time this has happened, but if you're a jungler or you play League of Legends at all, these changes will impact how you have to think about the game. Dr. Disrespect flips out because he, so there was some Twitch emotes that were mocking him, and he was not very happy with them, and of course Twitch has his back and just banned them all. Because he's a big streamer and he makes them a lot of money, so they're gonna take care of him. That's about how that works. Artifacts, the Dota card game. We're getting a little bit more information every week, it seems. Right now, we know that there's going to be a Q1 2019 $1 million tournament for Artifact. And I can't go over everything we know so far, but I'll leave the link to the Reddit where it's got the post with everything we know so far about Artifact. And that's it for video game news. Your indie game this week, you would have seen a bunch of this if you were on the Twitch Club member Murphy64's Twitch channel. It's atex-brawl. For those of you who have never heard of it, it's from a great indie developer that Twitch Club has played lots of their games, called Innuendo Squad. atex-brawl specifically is a modular mech arena shooter, and I'm going to leave a link to the itch.io page for it. It's currently in alpha. Yes, alpha. I had to double check that. It's currently in alpha. They think it's going to be about $8 when it fully releases, but right now it's free on itch.io, and it will be on Steam. You can find a Steam page for the game on the Steam store, but it's currently available right now on itch, and that is the link I'm going to leave you in the episode description. I'll also probably update you when this game does fully release. Okay, so here we are at Esports. Let me take you through the start of the NBA 2K League. A couple weeks back, you'll remember I covered that the draft for the NBA 2K League had taken place, and ever since then I have been looking for more information on this league. I want to know things like when it's starting, what the format's gonna look like, who's playing who and when. I wanted a schedule. A place for standings would be great, and they didn't have any of this. As a matter of fact, it took a week and a half of research for me to finally find on Forbes.com of all places that the start date for this league was May 1st. And I never did find an actual start time, despite the fact I had 3 weeks of research. But by the time the league started, I never actually found a start time, just the start date. So come May the 1st, I knew it was on Twitch. I was just checking Twitch every now and then on my phone because I was out and about to see if the NBA 2K League had gone live yet. And that was their first day. No website, no nothing. Just for those of the fans that found the article on Forbes, they knew what day it was starting, and that's about it. It was an absolute disaster in terms of viewership, because probably significantly so to do with the fact they didn't tell anyone when the damn game was starting. I did miss the first game of the NBA 2K League, the whole thing, just because I didn't know when it was starting. I'm really salty about this, and it was day 3 of the league before they dropped their official website with things like scores, standings, what teams are in the league, that kind of thing. And I'm pretty sure that they could have had that, or should have had that out, like, before they started playing games. But anyways, they didn't. I feel like they probably lost a good chunk of potential fans. People that just wanted to watch and see if they were interested in, decided that they weren't interested right on day 1. So there's that. The tournament, for the format going forward is essentially a tournament every few weeks with weekly matchups in between. So that makes it easy. I'll just cover the tournaments, and when the tournaments come up, I will update the standings from the weekly matchups. And of course, at the end of it all, they will have a playoffs, but they have such terrible viewership because they did not market this whatsoever that I would be hard pressed to believe that this league is going to be around long term unless its actual motivation is not esports. If it's a business thing for these teams and the NBA, then it might be around, but there's no viewership. Like, compared to the Overwatch League, let me put this in perspective. When I watched on day one, there was about 10,000 concurrent viewers on the NBA 2K League on Twitch. There are a lot of individual streamers that easily outclass that. There were a couple individual Twitch streams that I follow that had more than 40,000 viewers during that exact same period of time. And the Overwatch League consistently pulls hundreds of thousands, and on their first day, instead of 10,000, they pulled well over 600,000 viewers. So I do see a long-term, the TLDR is, I do see a long-term future for the Overwatch League. I would actually even be surprised to see Season 2 of the NBA 2K League with how deplorable it has been so far. But I can't harp on them and not credit them for what they did well. The build of the game is really great. It's apparently, I'm not a big 2K fan, but apparently this build of the game is the best that has ever been seen. I'll give them credit, there were no glitches, no technical holdups on the game machines or the broadcast. All that technical stuff went off without a hitch. I was very less than impressed. But they do have NBA2KLeague.com finally up and running, but to be honest, when for the first 3 days of your league, the number one source for scores in your league was Forbes.com, that doesn't say good things about you. Moving on. LCS. Over in China, the LPL finals took place where RNG finally get their domestic title over Edward Gaming in a 3-1 fashion in a best of 5. The mid-season invitational playoffs are underway right now. Not playoffs, play-ins. I'll cover the playoffs later. But the play-ins are on right now if you are interested. There's some new teams. For example, Lion Gaming is always seemingly here. They're not here this year. So there's new teams representing some regions that typically only have one team that ever represents them. So that's exciting. And the GPL League has disbanded and is now the Southeast Asia League, and it will run more like a Counter-Strike Global Offensive style format in that it's not going to be a set league with set teams, it's going to be a series of tournaments kind of deal. And then there'll be one big tournament that determines their representative at the World Championships in the late part of the year. SKT is holding tryouts. I think I already covered that last week. Origin, as expected, they swept the finals at the EU Masters because they're the only team in EU Masters that has they basically have an X-Pro lineup that just completely outclasses all the competition as far as skill period. So there wasn't a whole lot anybody else could do. Overwatch League still happening. Actually, Stage 3 playoffs are about to coming up right here shortly. So I'll cover those, but they haven't happened yet, so I can't cover them yet. Dota apparently, well, not apparently, they did. They released a patch in the middle of a major tournament. This tournament has qualifying points for the international on the line, and they released a patch like right smack in the middle of this tournament and changed the meta and the play styles right in the middle of this tournament. They vowed not to do that again, but like, how did you mess that one up, Dota? You've been around long enough that I would have thought this kind of rookie mistake was beyond you, but apparently I was wrong. Anyways, they claim to have learned from their mistakes and won't do that again. Moving on to Australia, Intel Extreme Masters Sydney, a couple notable absences. Navi and the Space Soldiers were replaced because they couldn't get to Australia due to visa issues with their team. But other than that, the tournament is underway and happening. I think all the playoffs happen this weekend, actually. So if you're at all into CSGO, you're probably going to watch that. And if you're not, you're probably not going to watch that. Splice left CSGO to focus on some of their other esports. And, Cal came back against the University of Waterloo in Game 7 of a 7-game series for StarCraft 2 Team Brawl, the TESPA Collegiate Series in 18. So the team from California taking down the team from Ontario there in the finals. But it was an exciting tournament to follow, and I think a bunch of the VODs are still on the Twitch channel and probably on YouTube if you care to follow that. Sorry for the rant on NBA 2K League. There'll be a lot less coverage of that league in the future, but I just needed to get that off my chest because it really ticked me off that I spent 3 weeks researching, not even to know when the first game of the league started. I was on their email mailing list. No email, nothing. It was just a big slap in the face to anybody who cared a little bit about this league. And I think the fans that they've got left are just people that play NBA 2K casually. So, there's that. Well, I'm going to leave you with subscribe so you never miss an episode. I promise not to go on an epic NBA 2K rant again. And thank you to Approaching Nirvana for the awesome background music week after week. It really takes the show to the next level, I think. Yeah, just thanks, and I will see you next Friday with more video game news and esports.